Scott, I see that somebody left us a magic box today.
That happens sometimes.
I know, so I've heard that. So we better see what's in it.
All right.
Actually, before we...
Oh,
What is it?
I'm not quite sure. Oh,
Here you go.
this looks like it may be a baby goat.
Coincidentally and happily, this reminds me of a story.
Oh, good.
It's a story that is from long ago and far away. It comes from Tibet. And it's a story about two friends who lived in a little village. Okay. One of them was a milk seller. And he would make his living going to the town square and selling cups of milk to people who came through the town square. And his other friend was a goat herd.
Oh,
and
I'll be the goat herd.
He worked for somebody who owned a big herd of goats, and he would take care of them during the day and bring them back to town at night. Well, one day, the milk seller went to the center of town, to the town square, and he carefully put his big jug, bigger jug than this, really, of milk, on a rock.
Okay.
And it was a quiet day, and there was not a lot of business. So as the afternoon went on, he got kind of sleepy, and he laid down to take a load off, and he dozed off. And his friend came barreling along with the herd of goats, bringing them back. And when his friend saw him there...
Hi there! Good day, friend. How are you?
And he bumped into the goat. The goat ended up hitting the rock, and the rock got a little shaken up, and what happened? The big jug of milk fell to the ground, and it burst into 1,000 pieces.
Oh, no.
Well, the milk seller was furious, and he said, "This is all your fault. What am I going to do? I can't make a living without that jug. That's all I have to be able to sell my milk. You have to pay for it." But his friend said, "It's not my fault. I mean, I just said hello. You were the one who bumped into the goat, and the goat bumped into the rock, and then it told that's not mine. Besides, I haven't got any money to be able to pay for your jar. I have to feed my own family. I mean, that would take like a month's salary." So they started to really go at it. In fact, the milk seller was so upset he was almost ready to put one on the smacker of the goat herd. But the townspeople who were in the square said, "Oh, come on, settle down, you guys. You have to calm down about this. We're going to have to let the judge decide."
Oh.
So they took their case to the judge, who had a kind of court every week, and he would have it in a big room, and people would gather, and he would sit on his big chair, and he would look severe and stern, and the people would come forward and present their cases. So the milk seller came forward and argued that it was the goat herd's fault, and the goat herd said it wasn't his fault at all, and told a different story about how things had happened. And the townspeople were interested to see what he was going to decide. Finally, the judge said, "Wait a minute. I think that both of you are not guilty in this situation. It's clear to me that either the goat or the rock was responsible for this, because, of course, the goat hit the rock, and the rock did not do a very good job of holding on to the jug. Neither of them, and both of them are at fault. Somehow I have to decide. So next week we will bring the goat and the rock into court, and we will have our trial." Well, word got around that the judge was going to bring the goat and the rock as witnesses, so by the next week when he held court, everybody in town was there, and they were waiting to see what would happen. So the judge called his witnesses. He asked the goat quite a few questions, and the goat looked very nervous and confused, and all he could say was, "Bah." And then the judge turned to the rock, and the rock, of course, refused to answer any questions at all. All the people in the courtroom were, by this time, kind of nudging each other and talking and saying, "Have you ever seen anything so ridiculous?" and making jokes and laughing, and there was a general hubbub in the courtroom. So the judge raised his hand and said, "Silence. All of you who are speaking now, laughing and joking, you're being disrespectful to these solemn proceedings. And as a result, I'm going to ask all of you who have spoken or laughed during this proceeding to pay a fine of 1 silver coin. And then he went around with his hands out, and he collected. You know, most people had been laughing or joking. So he went out and he collected a silver coin from most of the people. And then he came back to the milk seller and he said, "Now, does this add up to about what it would cost for you to buy a new jug?" And the milk seller said, "Well, yes, it would." So he said, "Now, I want you to go and do that and go back to your place in the square. But before I issue a permit for you go back to selling milk, I want you to reach out your hand and shake the hand of your friend, the goat herd, and apologize for being so angry at him. And you, the goat herd, do the same. And when you get back home, give your poor goat a little extra milk, please." So that's our story today. Thank you.
All right, we now sing the kids out to their classes. If you turn to the back cover of your hymnal, you'll find the song that we sing to sing them out.